It's week 11 of the NFL season. Of course, we're going to bring you our week 11 NFL bets on another episode of Game Day Gambles over here on the KC Sports Authority podcast. I'm Keegan Russell. He is Greg with me tonight to talk some more NFL football, give you some of our winning bets we have for this weekend that we're hoping to cash in big on. But first, if you are new to the show or if you've never seen us before, if this is your second, third, or fourth time listening or watching over here on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. Come back each week for our Game Day Gambles episodes from college football betting, NFL betting, a little bit of college basketball. We'll start to get in some NBA, some fantasy football questions tonight. So there's all sorts of things that we can gamble on, per se, as that is the title of this segment of our weekly podcast. So thank you for joining us. If you are a returning listener, we appreciate the questions we've been starting to get each week on different games and takes that you want us to break down here in the show. So we're going to get into it with week 11 of the NFL slate. But Greg, I got to ask you first, as we look at the over the halfway point of the season now, what are your takeaways on, I think it's safe to say the Jets suck. I think it's safe to say the Cowboys suck.
Cowboys suck.
Outside of that, what takeaways do you have of the NFL season so far?
I think the Eagles are overachieving. I don't trust them. The Lions are the best team in football. The Kansas City Chiefs Patrick Mahomes might have a horseshoe stuck up his ass. He could be the luckiest guy. That is the luckiest team. I still can't believe they won last week. It is getting annoying at this point. And again, I know this is the Kansas City show, but we do have some listeners out by me. I think we're all annoyed.
If you're not a Chiefs fan, I get it. You look at the Chiefs and you just want to rip your hair out.
You do.
We obviously we had a post-game episode last week talking about that Chiefs victory, and the blocked kick, to the majority of people say it's luck. The Chiefs scouted that hard, and 3 straight field goal attempts. They did the same exact thing, exploiting a weakness on that line. Almost blocked it the second time, got it on the third time to win the game. But yeah, the Chiefs find ways to win. That's all I can tell you. They're undefeated. I think they have a legitimate chance at going full undefeated, as hard as that is. But they just find ways to win. They could score 16 points. Doesn't matter. The other team's only scoring 14. This is the best defense in football, the best winner in football in Patrick Mahomes. Doesn't matter who he has to throw to, who's in at left tackle, how old the running back is behind him. Does not matter. How old Travis Kelce is, they find a way to get it done. How old DeAndre Hopkins is, doesn't matter. They get it done. Obviously, they got a tough matchup this weekend at Chiefs Bills. And I guess since we mentioned there, let's just freaking start with Chiefs Bills. I think this is obviously the game of the week. This is the game most everybody's going to have their eyeballs on. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Sean McDermott, Andy Reid. There's a lot of storylines here. The Bills have gotten us a few times in the regular season, but we seem to be the Bills' kryptonite. No matter how perfect of a game Josh Allen plays, he gives Mahomes too much time. And it's been several years now, but that 13 seconds is always going to hang over Buffalo Bills fans for life, knowing that they were so close to getting to a Super Bowl, but they just cannot get past Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I think this is a wild game. I think these are 2 really good teams. I think the Bills are very strong. We know Josh Allen can turn the ball over at any second, but I think at this point in the season, I would lean Josh Allen as the MVP. I think he's definitely top 3 for sure, but Bills are about a 2-point favorite on average. Big time matchup. What do you think on this game?
Being that it's in Buffalo, being that Josh Allen has been much better this year with the turnovers, he's protecting the ball, he's managing the game a little better. I am going to take a big stand this week on the Bills. You are not going undefeated. I've been saying this for a few weeks now. I'm going to say it again. You're not going to go undefeated. I'm sorry. Kermit the Frog is going to lose a game. He's going to lose this one. I like the Bills. Josh Allen, as I've said, to me is the best NFL player there is right now. And I think he is going to find a way to win this game.
I do think this is the toughest game on the season for the Chiefs. The matchup with Kansas City Buffalo, I think, is great. It is always a fun game. I think you look at the Chiefs and the concerns are their wide receiver core is weak, hasn't made a difference. I think you look at the Bills and you go, their wide receiver core has been a little weak. Amari Cooper should play. But to me, it feels like Josh Allen's going to have a monster game. James Cook is a great running back. He's not getting more than 40 yards against the Chiefs. It's not happening. Dalton Kincaid could have a big game. He's on the injury report too. I think this is going to be a fun game, but I am firmly confident there's one thing. If I could bet just this one thing and it was good money, I would. There will be a turnover in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Either side, there's going to be a turnover. Mahomes is going to throw a pick. Josh Allen's going to fumble the ball. One of those two things is for sure happening. I think it's going to be a fun matchup. This is one for me at -2. I don't like the number there. So as a Chiefs fan, I'm teasing this to Chiefs plus 3.5 or Chiefs money line. But if you are worried about the Chiefs losing this game, now here's the big thing. Up until today, and I'm surprised the line hasn't moved another half point or so yet. Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker was put on IR. That is a huge loss. Losing a kicker late in the week. They signed a guy off the Jets practice squad, never heard of in my life. That's huge. So you got to think Chiefs got to find ways to score touchdowns, because if they get in field goal positions, new kicker with a new unit, that could be of interest there. So I still like Chiefs to cover plus 3.5, but I think we'll see this line shift. I know I'm not saying that the kicker is a huge part of the game, but you lose one of the best kickers in the NFL to a guy off a practice squad. You think that's got to sway this line another half point or so. But I think it's going to be a fun game. I think you're going to get 2 MVP performances, but I'm going to take the Chiefs again. They go 10-0.
Hey, we're all shocked that you're taking the Chiefs. But here's my question. Can your boys get better alarm systems? What's going on? They're getting burglarized out there. What's going on out there in Kansas City?
Yeah, apparently everyone's breaking into Mahomes and Kelsey's homes. They've
mean,
had what guys had his car stolen from the parking lot this year. Both their homes have been broken into. Yeah, a lot of wild stuff. But yeah, I think the Chiefs are getting healthier. They still have concerns at left tackle. The Bills have been saying for years that they have a Kelsey stopper with Milano, and he plays like garbage or doesn't play every time this game happens. AJ Epinesa is a good pass rusher. Greg Rousseau is a good pass rusher. So I think we're going to see some sacks. I think we're also going to see if you're going parlay props or player props, I don't have the lines just yet in front of me. I like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes both on their rushing overs. Mahomes always has a big time play against the Bills. So I think if you can get both of them at plus 25, parlay them together or individually, heck, I think you could even take Josh Allen plus 30-ish. He's going to have to get some of those big time plays, because I don't know if I trust their wide receiver room against our defense to get the job done offensively. But yeah, it's going to be a fun game.
Go Bills.
Let's go through the rest of the NFL. What games stand out to you? I know we're going to have a couple of things in this. We got a money line parlay for you guys, our round robin TD, and then we have a couple questions from listeners this week, in addition to some fantasy football takes. So I'll let you go through some of the games you like. I don't really have many strong convictions this week, other than a couple upset plays I really like. So I'll save some of my stuff for the back half.
All right. So first up for me is Ravens at the Steelers. So here's the one I think. Look, Steelers have been good on paper. They've played a lot of good games. They've grinded it out. The Ravens have underachieved. I think this is the week the Ravens go in, punch the Steelers in the mouth, easily cover, and we see that the Ravens are, in fact, the best team in that division.
I love this game. I think this is going to be a fun game. There's been some good stuff in the press conferences this week. Tomlin's had a good year with a terrible quarterback, but Russell Wilson has also been a good game manager and found a way to get the job done last week. But this, to me, is a game the Ravens need to go out and win if they have any hope of not just winning the division, but fighting for the number 1 seed, which I don't think they can get anymore. But the Ravens, if they lose this game, I think they're going to fall off the pedestal of top teams in the AFC. So I think they have a lot to lose from this game, giving them the edge. But I also think a Mike Tomlin coach team, man, they're scrappy. I'm really curious to see pass rush in this game. Can they contain Lamar? We've seen TJ Watt just absolutely wreck the opposing team's quarterback. But this is one that Lamar, you just don't bring down very easily. So I think it's going to be a really fun one to watch. But yeah, Baltimore -3. I think that's solid. I think they're the better team. But I could also see a Steelers cover, but Baltimore money line.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the Ravens are going to win by double digits.
I'll look forward to watching that. I think this defense is good. It's good defense. Steelers have a good defense.
Look, he's my favorite player on defense in the league. Watt is a game changer, but I think eventually the cream rises. We're at that point in the season. I think the Ravens will make a statement this week.
All right. What do you got next?
A question for you. The Browns still playing Cleveland, right?
I don't think it matters where the Browns play. They're not worth watching on TV.
But they still are the Cleveland Browns, and Jameis Winston still
They
their
are
quarterback?
still the Cleveland Browns. That
Great.
is true.
And Jameis Winston still their quarterback?
That is also true.
Okay, apparently Vegas wants to give everyone a Christmas present early. Bet the Saints -1.5. Don't understand the line. The Browns suck.
You tell me Jameis isn't going into his old team and putting the stomping on him?
I'm telling you, I can't even believe the guy's still in the league. Give me the Saints, and hopefully Cleveland just leaves Cleveland again because they are terrible.
Yeah, Browns at Saints. I don't think that's going to be a fun one to watch by any means. I know we've got a couple players from this that we're going to say for one of our round robin TDs later. So maybe some parlay plays we throw out there, but not a very pretty game to watch. But what's next for you?
All right. So this one, look, let me just preface this with I think the Falcons are a good team. I do, but somehow, some way, Sean Payton has turned this around, and the Broncos, with who I thought was and it was a good QB draft class, so I don't mean this as like a huge shot, but I thought he was the worst of the quarterbacks drafted in the first round. I thought he would struggle the most as a pro, but Bo Nix he's been good. Like he's been impressed. He's making throws that I didn't think he could make, and he sure as hell wasn't making them at Auburn. Maybe he was making them a little bit more at Oregon, and I missed it. But goddamn, he has been playing well, and he's been managing the game. And that Broncos defense is good.
Yes, that pass rush, my goodness, they ate the Chiefs up.
And we know what Kirk Cousins does when he's getting rushed. So give me the Broncos at home, given under a field goal.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. I mentioned to you before we started recording that it looked like the way the line set up that you feel like the public is going to be heavy Falcons. The Falcons look like, even though the record's 6-4, they look like one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the NFC. But the Broncos are tough at home. They're a gritty team. I think Sean Payton's a tremendous coach. I thought Bo Nix, personally, coming out of college, I was much higher on him than most people. I had him ahead of J.J. McCarthy. And I think he's starting to showcase that athleticism is a big advantage for him. But yeah, I think this is an interesting game. Even though the Broncos lost, they're still in playoff contention. So they get the job done here, and they're back above 500. So I think that's a strong play there at home for sure.
And the last one for me, because I hate myself, and most gamblers do, I'm going to play the Bengals one more freaking time, getting 1.5 at the Chargers, because I just can't believe they're this bad. Joe Burrow is playing freaking lights out, and the defense just can't close a game out for this poor guy. So eventually I think it's going to turn. So I think Joe Burrow does his thing again. I think they put up points, and I'm gonna bank on the defense making a big stop this week and the Bengals getting out of here, because if they don't win this one, their season's over. So I think they get the win, move themselves back to one game under 500.
See, and I think their season's already over, whereas the Chargers are now they still have a lot to catch up to the Chiefs. The Chargers have looked way better than I think their record. Like even like I know 6-3 is a good record, but they've played solid football. Gus Edwards combo with J.K. Dobbins has been solid. I think Harbaugh knows how to win. He's established a culture early. And I think what's going for them now is Ladd McConkey was a great pickup for them in the draft. Quentin Johnson, though, starting to come on hot as of late and finding a good connection with Justin Herbert. So I think they're heating up. To me, I look at both these teams, and I'm not saying they're the same team, but it's almost like a mirror style game. I think they've got 2 quarterbacks with big time arms that can throw for 304 touchdowns, and they've got similar styles of offense. Now, nobody really tops Jamar Chase with what he can do down the field, but I think both franchises are in similar positions of fighting for, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th best team in the AFC. So I think that's another interesting one Sunday night. But I think I lean the Chargers. They have found ways to get it done, and I think give me the home team here.
Look, here's what I'll tell you. The season isn't over yet. It's on the line for the Bengals, because if they win this game, and if the Broncos lose, which they could, I like them to win, but just in case, if they did lose, the Bengals would now be tied for the last wild card, and they'd control their own destiny based on the schedule.
That's true.
So I think this is a huge game, obviously, for the Bengals. Chargers sitting at 6-3. They're in pretty good shape right now. I like the Bengals. They're going to be focused. They got to win this game. I think they're going to get it done. I really do. Look, they've been a second half team for the last couple of years. So would it shock us if they only lost one more game, finished the year 10-7? Wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, I think this game, what you're seeing here is, to me, this is battle for the. I guess you still got to throw Denver in there, but I think this is battle for the third wild card spot. Obviously, unless the Steelers just fall apart or the Ravens fall apart, one of those two teams is winning the division,
Yeah.
and then the second team's going to the playoffs. So yeah, you look at Cincinnati, the Chargers, and the Broncos all fighting for that third spot. I don't think you can take anybody else in the AFC South. Um, I don't think the Dolphins could get hot, I suppose, but they've got injury concerns themselves. And Tua decided to head tackle a guy stupidly, and he's one more concussion away from being paralyzed.
Yep.
So he should probably slow that down. So I think, yeah, you're looking at a potential wild card matchup game itself there, but two teams fighting for the same spot, which should make both teams hungry. But yeah, I think I lean Chargers on that one. Okay, let's go to let's go to a money line. No, I'm sorry. Let me do my upset picks for you. I've got two upset picks. One of them I don't even want to consider an upset because the team they're playing is just so terribly bad, but they are still a 3 to 4 point road dog. That is the Indianapolis Colts to upset the Jets at home. The Jets, they can't do anything, man. Aaron Rodgers, like you look up and down that roster, they have talent, they have studs at wide receiver, they've got a really good running back, they've got a solid defense, a really good corner, but they're getting mediocre to subpar quarterback play, and that is really, really hurting them. Colts, on the other hand, though, they decided to go back to Anthony Richardson this week. I think that's going to make him super motivated. I think they're going to lean into the run game a little bit more. Michael Pittman's still banged up, so I don't know if he's going to play, but I just have no confidence in the Jets. We've had them in bets previous weeks, and they've hurt us every single time. So I think I like the Colts as an upset pick on the road this week.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, the Jets suck. I'm sick and tired of hearing about how great their defense is. Just go ask Kyler Murray if their defense is good. The answer is no. My funeral for the Jets.
Again, another running quarterback that tore them up.
Yeah, I mean, the funeral for the Jets was last week. I mean, that was just. I mean, you want to talk about bottom of the barrel, the absolute breaking point, if I was a Jets fan, was last week. Yeah. I mean, that was just awful. And it's the last time I know a lot of people I know had them too, and they went down in flames. I was right there with them going down on the Jets. I gave them one more shot. I figured Aaron Rodgers would find a way to win and keep them in contention. Season's over. They got nothing to play for.
Yeah, they're not making the playoffs.
They are not making the playoffs.
And whereas the Colts at 6 losses are technically still within arm's reach, so they have more to play for. I think the Jets, now you got to figure out as you go in the offseason, do you cut Aaron Rodgers and eat the $40 million plus cap hit to start over, or do you keep him and have a $23 million cap hit and hope that
he can't throw the ball? He can't throw the ball anymore.
You send him to another ayahuasca retreat. Maybe he comes out of it after a month.
Good point.
Good. I think that's the only hope they have. Is
he can't? He literally can't throw the ball anymore. He cannot hit a wide open receiver.
I think I didn't double check this beforehand, but I think Devontae Adams is averaging like less than 7 yards a catch because they're quick hitters.
You want to talk about the wrong choice? He should have went to the Saints and joined his boy Carr, not this guy.
Yep, I agree. So that's my first one. My second one, a team that Greg has told me multiple times this year that they are a terrible, terrible team, yet somehow they are sitting there right at just under 500 with the ability to really put themselves in a position to win the division, because this division's a little wacky right now. And that's the Seahawks at the 49ers. 49ers on paper should win this game. The Seahawks offense steadily improving. Kenneth Walker looks good. Jackson Smith and Jigbo, who I'm going to mention here in a little bit too, is having an incredible last couple of weeks. I really like the Seahawks on the road here to cover the 6.5, but I also like them as an upset team. The 49ers, they should win this game easily, but for some reason they won't. This is, I mean, we talked about this weeks ago. It was the Cardinals that upset them, or the Rams? I can't remember which team I said was going to beat the 49ers. It was one of those other two NFC West teams, and they did in fact do it. Now the 49ers are getting healthier for sure. McCaffrey's back. Debo's playing, but Debo's one trip away from being on the sideline again. George Kittle looks really good, but I think I like the Seahawks there, and I know you're going to tell me I'm crazy for picking that. But you're going to make money if they win.
You're out of your mind. It was the Cards, but here's my one question for you. Just remind me, because my memory's a little fuzzy. As you guys all know, I drink the bourbon. Keegan drinks the water. Did the Seahawks beat or lose to the awful Giants at home?
They did, in fact, lose that game.
Yeah, they lost 29-20. So
that did happen.
Convince me that the Seahawks are good again. Get out of here.
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Give me the Niners and Brock Purdy and all those weapons.
Hey, the point of upset plays is to find big payouts, okay? You don't have to have confidence they win the game. You just got to have a big payout. So that's what I'm looking at.
Is Geno Smith still playing quarterback?
That is also true.
Give me the Niners.
All right, let's go to a money line parlay. I got a three-team money line parlay for you guys that's almost plus money. I've got it about minus 102 right now. Three teams that both of us feel have no chance of losing this weekend, as one of them we're going to talk about here in a second. But that is the Lions, the Packers, and the Texans. Texans get the awful Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football that nobody wants to see on Monday Night Football. So that should be a no-brainer. The Packers get the Bears, who have no idea who's calling plays this week. Caleb Williams has regressed in the last couple of weeks. They've fired a lot of people. One of their linemen's sitting out the rest of the year and foregoing whatever. They're a dumpster fire of a team. And then the Lions, coming off of an ugly game against the Texans, still get it done. I think they're looking to bounce back big against the Jags. So this is my three-team money line parlay for you guys. And we're going to come back and talk about the lines in a minute because we had a question for one of our listeners. But I feel pretty good with that three-team money line parlay. Almost even money right there, depending on when you place it. And if you needed to add another team, I think you could add someone in there. So that's the one I like. Do you have any money line parlays? I know we have a super teaser we want to talk about.
I think that one was pretty much where I was going. Now, look, I said it to you off the air. I'll say it on the air. Selfishly, I hope the Bears play a great game against the Packers so we can get a great line on Thanksgiving and we can all hammer the Lions. But probably not going to happen.
Yeah. All right, let's do our round robin TD this week. You've got, 3 running backs and a wide receiver?
I got 4 backs and a receiver.
4 backs, sorry. 4
yeah,
backs.
And I know some people could look at this on the bottom of the screen and go, hey, wait a sec. You told us those teams were going to get murdered this week. I agree, but there's not many shutouts in the NFL. So I like Aaron Jones, Jacobs, Chubb, Bijan Robinson, and Jamar Chase all to get in the end zone. It's 21-1. It's not the highest odds I've given you, but I think it's got a great shot to hit. I might put a little more than I normally do on the 5-man one here. Try to get a nice hit at 20-1.
I do like that. The Titans are a strong pass defense. So I think if you get up around the goal line, they're going to try and take Justin Jefferson away. So I like that one there with Aaron Jones. He's been looking pretty solid the last couple of
weeks.
They
got to get these guys. Jones and Jacobs have both been good, and they don't get in the end zone. They got to get these guys in the end zone. Let them dance.
Yep. And then Chubb still bouncing back. The Saints defense isn't that great this year either. And so I think that's a good shot. Bijan's looked incredible. Jamar Chase is freaking Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase can go for 2-3 touchdowns in a given week. So I love that one. All right, last part of the show here. Let's get into some listener questions and some fantasy football stuff. So if you guys haven't done so, you can do this any week. Send us a question. Hit us, for those of you that know Greg, obviously you can send it his way. But if you want to send it to the show, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at KCSA Pod. You can send a comment in the YouTube section here below. DM us, send us something our way. So first up, Greg, we got the Lions. What's our question on the Lions?
This one comes from a listener in Connecticut, Dave. He wants to know Lions 13. We love the Lions. We trust the Lions, but this is one of the biggest NFL spreads we've seen all year. It is the NFL competitive league. Lions love to, give up some points. Do we trust them given 13, even in this spot against a terrible team? What do you think, Keegan?
I think, yeah. I mean, last week they still find a way to get it done, but it wasn't pretty. Jared Goff has been incredibly efficient this year, like super efficient. Was not last week. I think the Texans will have a better defense than they get credit for too at times. Jaguars, bad defense, bad offense. Heck, is Trevor Lawrence even playing this weekend?
No, it's Mac Jones.
He's going to miss this weekend. That's right. Mac Jones, we know what happened with him in New England. The Lions have a good defense. I know they still don't have Aiden Hutchinson. They got Zadarius Smith over, so they got to get him in the mix. I think the Lions look to bounce back and bounce back big. This is one that I'm going to have a couple other plays from TD plays with Montgomery and Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think this is blowouts. This is like 41-10 territory.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think, yeah, if I would definitely lay the points before taking it, but I just want to like put this in perspective. I think majority of people feel the Texans are a pretty decent team, right?
Yeah, I think most
Jeff
people have them
Goff,
third or fourth.
Jeff Goff threw, count them off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interceptions, and they still won the freaking game. 5. So
That's because CJ Stroud threw his 4 himself or 3.
he threw 3. I think he was 3, but Goff threw 5 interceptions on the road and still won. I think he covers 13 at home.
Easily. Dan Campbell's an incredibly good coach. Dan Campbell's also one that does not. It's very rare that he takes his foot off the gas pedal. They like to run up the score. They like to get everybody involved. And the Jaguars have nothing to play for. There's no reason they should go out and try to win this game. They should be sucking as hard as possible to get a top draft pick. I know they can't take a quarterback because they're paying Trevor Lawrence, but they need some talent around them. The only thing you can play here, again, you don't know what running back's going to get what with Etienne and Bigsby. They're going to throw the ball to Brian Thomas. I can tell you that. That's about it.
I said it before on the show. The Lions are the new greatest show on turf, and they might be better. They might be better than the '99 Rams from an offensive standpoint. They are
the best 1-2 punch at running back I've seen in quite a long time,
maybe ever.
Yeah.
I mean, well, there's Bo Jackson and Marcus.
They complement each other very well.
But I mean, it's just it's unbelievable.
All right, next up, we've got a super teaser question.
So this comes from our listener Jimmy in Jersey, and he wants to know Lions, Ravens, Bills, Bengals with the DraftKings super teaser, moving them all 13 points. Normally Jimmy likes to light his money on fire with these types of plays, but I like this one. I think he's on to something here. I think these games all could be close. Like I said, they call them teasers for a reason. But I think this one's got a good shot, Jimmy, and I would endorse this one. I think I'll be with you on this.
Yeah, I think I agree there. None of these teams look like they're gonna get blown out, and even on the off chance they were I think Lions even teasing that back down to basically even is still no brainer. There's no way to lose this game. Again, like I said, I think the Ravens could lose, but they're not getting blown out. The Bills could lose to the Chiefs, but that game is always close. The Bengals worry me a little bit if Joe Burrow's having an off game, but what they would have to lose, they would have to still cover by.
Yeah, the Bengals will be getting 13 and a half.
13 and a half in that.
14 and a half, excuse me, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, still it's hard to have to win a game 2 touchdowns. So I like that a lot. What was the odds on that?
It's minus 140 offered at DraftKings, not FanDuel.
Cool. So you got to probably bet a little bit more to win some more on that, but I don't mind that at all. Okay, let's talk a little bit about fantasy football. I know we haven't talked much throughout the year of this, unfortunately. Do have a couple questions from a listener, and then I put 2 questions in here for myself because one of them impacts my fantasy football season. A lot of injuries this year that have really taken away from fantasy football. Guys like Christian McCaffrey being out for a majority of the year, Cooper Kupp out for a long time, Tyreek Hill, Puka Nacua. A lot of these guys are back. Some of these guys are still hurt. You got a question, and I added to this because there's 2 receivers we need to look at and really say, what do we expect to get from them down the stretch? Can they win you your fantasy league? Or with the way their teams are sitting, is it time to turn your attention elsewhere? And unfortunately, they're 2 guys that probably went top 7 in almost every single draft.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the deal. I think you got to treat – well, Tyreek could be an injury issue coming up, but CD, I think we got to treat it kind of like I said at the beginning of the season with JJ. You drafted him for a reason. I know you don't have the quarterback that you thought you were going to have, but he's still CD Lamb. He's still one of the best in the game. I don't think it matters who's throwing the ball. Cooper Rush looked awful last week. Awful. But look, Dak has been injury prone, so Cooper Rush has played quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So I think that was a one-off. I think I don't know he wasn't expecting to play, obviously. So maybe he wasn't prepared like he should have been. So with 1 week under his belt, maybe we get a better performance this week. CD gets – where else are they going? I guess is my question with the ball. You can't trust Zeke anymore. He's 1,000 years old. He fumbles. You saw him fumble last week.
You going Devontae Turpin, Brandon Cooks?
Yeah, he's no good. Cooks is okay, but
I think Cooks you could argue is playable. But if you have both both these guys on your team, you still got to go the guy with the highest upside every single time. I mean, CeeDee Lamb, I don't care who the defense is, he still finds a way to get 7 catches.
Yeah,
More times than not.
I say you got to play CD. Tyreek, it's a tricky one because now you're talking an injury. So,
and then this is where I am now impacted too. Tyreek was my first pick in one of my leagues. Now I have a good team. I've got Cooper Kupp around him, Jamison Williams, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. But Tyreek has, he's dealing with an injury. He's kind of said that he can fight through it. I think he's going to continue fighting through it until the Dolphins realize their season is over. So as long as they're playoff bound, I think he's going to play, but that's going to limit him. I still think you have to play Tyreek though, because again, who do you have on your team that you want to start over him? Tyreek is always one play away from a 40-yard burst down the sideline for a big. So his big time play potential still makes him playable, but I think his targets are going to go down a little bit. Jalen Waddle's going to get more going. I think they're also utilizing their running backs a ton, so the usage might go down, but he's still got the big time breakaway left and right anytime he steps foot on the turf.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. You drafted him one for a reason. How pissed are you going to be if he finally goes off and he's on your bench, and that was a big game for you in fantasy that might have put you in the playoffs. So I think you got to play him because of where you drafted him.
Yeah, and if you're in a 12-man league, the odds of you having 2 other receivers better situations right now to start over Tyreek, I think is hard to do. Which does lead me into my final question. We're gonna do a little start, flex, bench, and then I'm gonna pitch this to you and start, bench, cut as well. 3 receivers here. So you have to pick 2 of these receivers to start your fantasy league this weekend or down the stretch consistently, and then the guy that you have the least trust in. So this one also impacts me. It's going to go Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jamison Williams, and Calvin Ridley.
All right, I'll answer that in 1 sec. I forgot one thing on Tyreek Hill. If you're listening to this podcast and you're playing Greg this week in fantasy, definitely sit Tyreek Hill. Go ahead. Oh, you can sit CD as well. So you want to know who I would sit and who I'd out of those 3 play 2 of them?
You have to play 2. Who are the 2 guys you trust? And I'm gonna rephrase, not just this weekend, but down the stretch. If you could only play 2 the rest of the season, which 2 guys do you feel give you the most fantasy upside down the stretch?
Ridley and Williams.
I see. This is where I'm stuck on. I think Ridley's for sure the answer. If I could start one, I think it's Calvin Ridley. Now that DeAndre Hopkins is out, Ridley's going to be the primary focus. He's a big time down the field threat. He's very big time red zone target. I think his touchdowns are going to go up. So I think Ridley's a must start week in and week out. Jameson's the interesting one to me. I think him and Jackson Smith and Jigba are very similar. Right now, and Jigba's a top 15 fantasy wide receiver from a production standpoint, but he also is coming off of a massive 37-point outing on average, depending on what league you're in, with a couple TDs and a big time play. So I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is getting more target share. I think Jameson is capable. He's still got, I think Dan Campbell kind of said it too. He's got to kind of prove himself worth it again in the offense since he had to miss. He's missed with injury. He's missed with suspension. Heck, he could get suspended again this week for all we know. So I think there's more risk with Jameson. But I think the big time play potential is still there. So I'm like almost at a wash with Jigba and Williams.
When is Metcalf back, or is he back this week?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's double check.
I guess that's the determining factor, because my thing with Williams is freaking Lions, like we've been talking about, they score so many points. It's like, it's almost like Russian roulette with that offense.
DK Metcalf should score. Go.
You know what I mean? It's like you got Laporta, you got Montgomery, you got Gibbs, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got Williams. Who's going to get a touchdown? And the crazy thing is, sometimes they all do.
They are the offense that could get everybody.
Yes.
I thought about that too, just playing $5 and picking 5 guys and just one play, just $5 on all 5 to get a TD, because it's possible. You only need to hit it really one time for it to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that offense is just out of control. It's a video game.
Yeah, so again, I lean Ridley there. I think you can make a case for each of them. I think Ridley gives you the highest ceiling, but if you're talking straight production, Jackson Smith and Jigba is a top 15 fantasy wide receiver. And if we went all the way back, I don't remember if we included this in an episode or not with you. I think Chris and I talked about this in something. I had Jackson Smith and Jigba as my top 40, as my receiver outside the top 40 to finish top 20. So he's right on par for that. Jamison Williams was also one of those I had down there. So I like the ceiling on all three of these guys. I think Calvin Ridley gets the edge because I think he's the one most likely to see the most red zone targets for touchdowns. Yeah. But again, Williams can hit a deep ball down the field. So yeah, that's all I got for this one. Did you have anything else fantasy wise?
That's it.
Most of you are probably past the trade deadline, so there's not a lot you can do now other than waiver wire pickups. If you are still a week away from your trade deadline, I think Calvin Ridley's a guy you should go target. I think Jackson Smith and Jibba is also a guy you could sell high on if you have an extra amount of wide receivers to maybe bolster another position. But that'll wrap things up on this edition, week 11 of the NFL Best Bets. Good luck this weekend. Of course, I'll put all of our plays out this weekend for the TD parlays, the upset parlays, money lines, all that sort of stuff. If you guys do have questions for next week, would love for you to send it our way. Again, you can hit us up at KCSA Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or send us a comment below on YouTube. And then be looking ahead for that Thanksgiving week. We have some plans for a fun Thanksgiving special for betting the slate of Thanksgiving games. But Greg, got anything else before we get out of here?
Let's cash some tickets, and if you hear this before Friday night, let's go Iron Mike.
Iron Mike. All right, that'll do it for this one. Appreciate you guys checking us out as always. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.